Okay. Blank card. Welcome. Let's ground into the space. Let's bring our energy into the room. Welcome. Thank you for joining me here at Natural Flow Alchemy. We're going to do a little Tarot of the Cat People read today. This very cool old vintage deck. And we'll do a card, an oracle from the Temple La as well. So this is for my creatives. I do tune in quite a lot to creative people. People maybe in the music industry or the art industry, or any people who are makers, builders, imaginers. I relate to that role as an individual who is highly creative and mutative. And what this means is having very little preconceived idea of what it is that is coming through, and being a vessel and a channel for allowing what my body physically will express given the energy of the day or energy of the time. So it's very much in relationship with my own energetic filter, if you will. And we're looking at the 5 of Pentacles here coming out. So the life of the artist often is working with limitation, working with what we have. And limitation, and this does bring me closely to the topic that I wanted to talk to today around boredom and creativity, and the requirement to be alone and to not have so much external stimulus, which is generally either corrupting or influencing or distracting, or, you know, keeping the mind busy. We need a certain amount of space, and that is why lack and hardship go so hand in hand with creative work, because lack and hardship forces space in order to protect a zone with less stimulus. And we as humans will start to stuff that space up with whatever we can grab. If that is you know, gambling, which is today is the Melbourne Cup in Australia, which is, you know, a gross display of people trying to stuff their senses with indulgence, gambling money, trying to win money, you know, just being, you know, I'm not flowing with my words so well. Leverage, like using the suffering, the potential suffering of animals, and using the suffering of people and humans to be needing to stuff something into their lives, or to win something, or to take a chance on something, to like have that adrenaline. And there's a whole industry which is profiting off of that lack. Let me sip of coffee. Without getting drawn off onto that, coming back to this idea of creativity, is that we really as creatives want to be seriously protecting the space that we have, the time that we have, and allowing ourselves to just sit and to just be. We've got the Hermit coming out, so Virgo energy, but also obviously, you know, this is that time that we need to be alone. We need to have space without that constant need for stimulus, because we're bringing through the wisdom. The lantern which the Hermit holds is the star from the Star card. And so this is like, imagine wish fulfillment, what we can dream of and what we can envision, and we come down and we bring it and we use it as the lamplight in those times when we are alone or in solitude, and we can bring forward that spark of creativity. But you can't bring forward a spark if there isn't some type of like contrasting dimness coming there from the cave or coming there from the dark. And we can use that as a symbol of that aloneness in that space. We tend to, with friction and with discomfort, is where we can start to imagine and visualize what it is that we would design, what would be created out of this nothingness through our vessel, through our filter, through each individual creative person's filter, through our ability to, divine from source, to grab out of the ethers, to collect and express and contribute to the world that which is new and innovative and fresh. And that often can look quite ugly. Sometimes it looks unrecognizable because it hasn't been done yet. And, that can be a requirement that needs to be expressed and iterated and refined over time. Sometimes like the first original idea is not necessarily like the one that ends up being marketed per se or accepted, but it is an essential stepping stone to the development of a concept or an idea. And it can start out being ugly or unusual or not making sense or being half-baked or half-finished or rough, raw, all of these things. We've got the Knight of Swords and the Page of Cups. I'll show you in just a moment. I'm just having a look here. Knight of Swords and the Page of Cups. So interestingly, with the Knight and the Page, this is that it hasn't matured yet. It's energy that the Knight is really trying to figure out where their strength lies and tries to develop that strength, to take something from, their ability to, for strength and endurance, and to cultivate that into something that is also steady and stable. So the Knight of Swords, kind of has this, I've got this idea, or maybe I've got this spark, and I'm going to go ahead and implement it, and maybe make some errors, maybe make some mistakes, but we're going to learn a lot along the way, and we're going to work on our craft along the way. And the Page of Cups there is kind of sitting for that message of emotional, you can say maturity or intelligence. There's a message coming through around what is good for us. This is a sign of wellness in a way, wellness of the heart, wellness of the soul. And a message is coming through to do with, this is what we can learn from that brushness of the Knight who's just willing to step into things. Then we can step back and say, okay, what did I learn? Like, did I burn out? Like, how do I do this in a different way, which is going to, protect my energy, protect my health, and enable me to actually continue this process or sustain this in life. So there's the pages there saying, what is the message here? What is my reflection? What is my review? So there's a message coming in around potentially a creative, I guess I'm jumping into the reading, although I've jumped a few steps, but there could be a message coming in around what we've done in the past and what we need to do in order to create some sustainability with that process. I have a few things that I like to introduce, and I have, before starting record, I did actually begin to burn some sage. Usually I use Palo Santo, but that's kind of run out at the moment. I have a bell here, which I've used already to cleanse the air. I'm going to use two more. Something really gets me in terms of like smoke and scents when I'm doing smoke and scents, smells, when I'm doing readings. Particularly, I want to shout out to Inanna Medicina, this absolutely amazing Rassiana. It's kind of like it's a, I don't know what to call it. It's like it's just, oh, hang on, I just pulled the lid off. That wasn't the lid, that was the spray. What can I say? Used on a body or in space. So it is an Ayurvedic blend of frankincense, rosewood, tulsi, and ylang ylang. So this is both really grounding and uplifting. This is vital energy. So I absolutely love this from Inanna Medicina. I met Edwina in person for an event, actually doing bushflower essences course workshop, and she had these on offer, and I just absolutely fell in love with this. So that's my absolute favorite kind of room spray. And I'm not someone who like looks for a room spray. I'd rather burn something. And then I also have this beautiful Star Child clairvoyant oil This is a particularly enlivening and clairvoyant enhancing oil. Probably got too much there. What is too much? But far out, that is the most delightful blend of something kind of orangey and sweet and minty and pepperminty. And that just brings me right into the space and connects me. And as I was setting this up too, I have this like little vase of flowers, which is a week old, and they're starting to disintegrate. But I realized how beautiful they still smell. That geranium still smells absolutely gorgeous. And I was thinking of that process as an artist and as a creative as well. 6 of Pentacles, reciprocity. What we're putting in, we're getting out. What are we exchanging? Cool. So we can put this in terms of our creative projects. Are we asking for what we're worth? Do we actually understand what the value of our contribution is? And that can mean for something greater than just what we receive for a piece of artwork. Like, what am I charging for one piece of artwork or a series of work? But it goes beyond that to what are we offering to the community as a whole, to humanity, to society. Those types of energetic the energetic evolution that occurs through unique artists and individuals who are producing and creating works of art, or we call works of art, just producing and creating innovative work. I should say, do I just call it work? I'm just trying to use a broad umbrella term here, because this can come looking like writing, it can come looking like baking or cooking. It's we're talking about alchemical processes here. This is natural flow alchemy after all. And the 6 of Pentacles is making sure, like, yeah, we get what we need. It's needs. Look at that, how she's feeding the cats and all the cats are there, and we need to make sure that there's enough to get what we need. And as artists, the world has not particularly been supporting artists in a way that's without having to turn it into a commodity or a marketing position. So creativity, creating is not always something that we get traditional financial compensation for. But as again, going back to the beginning, 5 of Pentacles, sometimes it is through that hardship and that experience of needing to be innovative, getting a lot of cards, in that, requires us to really search for something new, or to pull something out of the ether that's really special, because it doesn't hinge on, it's not lazy is what I'm trying to say. Like, there's more work required to cultivate something with less or with nothing. It also needs to be smarter. You need to be more efficient. You need to have greater clarity. You need to, when you move forward, the Knight and the Page here really needs to be considerate of, like, how do I move forward with this and make it sustainable? So you really are bringing through the cream of the crop, I guess, in some ways. Without trying to put a hierarchy or value on creation, because most creatives or most processes involve lots of errors. They're not really errors, they're just part of the process. They're just iterations of expression which are required in order to get us to the point where we meet that trifecta of where our skills and abilities meet our natural talent, and it's also what is desired or desirable to experience. Yes, so I'm going off on a lot of tangents because I keep pulling more cards. And I was talking about these flowers and watching as a creative again, it's the process of deterioration, even whether something is growing and blooming and you pluck those fresh flowers, and then you're watching and noticing how they change, how the moisture leaves dries into the air, and how things fade and turn, and how the petals fall. And I feel like that's such a part of being an artist or a creative, is that mindfulness slowing down to notice, watch the details. How do things shift and change? Like, and that again, it's an alchemical process. And artists who are working on their craft or leaving space for craft are able to sort of notice these things, and then they pick up on when those opportunities present themselves. And I've got the Wheel of Fortune. So this is the flowing, change of the times. So where the times are always changing. What is coming in, what is going out. There's always a shift occurring. And as the wheel shifts and as the wheel changes, it's about adaptability and flexibility, and how do we grow into this new cycle. And the Four of Swords here as well, again, reiterating this requirement for meditation and for peace, and to, keep yourself back from what everybody else is doing and what else is going on, and what you feel like you might need to keep up with or catch up with. It's not required. And this is, what sparked this morning was reading something around, being bored, and boredom being a requirement of creativity and necessary. And I think what it means by that is, you need adequate space to be able to recognize when something is truly inspiring. Does that make sense? Because you can be receiving dopamine hits constantly and be like, oh, entertainment, I'm entertained. But does it have longevity? Is what you're being entertained by thrilling in, 6 months? Or is it the type of thing that is really changing or shifting, or does it just kind of shock and awe you for a moment, which does enough to keep your nervous system hooked without actually really providing a deep mutative change, which is what individual creativity is all about. It's mutative change. It's bringing something which initially may be perceived as difficult. So that's the Wheel of Fortune and the Four of Swords there. So it's also being patient for change. It's that we're meditating on maybe not trying to push the wheel ahead, but understanding that the wheel will turn, or that, this time of meditation is just a period of time, or we're going into this new shift. So if you feel like maybe things are, and again, we're going to a Mercury retrograde, the last one for 2025. I think 3 or 4 times a year. I actually can't remember off the top of my head. It's how many retrogrades we have a year. And that's typically a time when we will set back a little bit, and have a time to review things like technology and communication, major themes, mercurial themes of that sort, but certainly alchemical processes as well. What else can we add to this pie, this conversation around creativity? Well, these two just popped out. And we've got the Three of Wands and the Nine of Pentacles. The Three of Wands and the Nine of Pentacles, which is great. The Nine of Pentacles is, the single ladies card. It's having that abundance and fulfillment. It doesn't have to be a woman, of course. But there is this sense of, I guess, when I think about the Nine of Pentacles in this way of relating, as a feminine archetype, when we reach the 10 of Pentacles, then we're looking at that spiritual wisdom and a family structure. And so it's very interesting to me that the precursor for the 10 being the 9, which is very much associated with the female archetype, is that, this is, I'm going to say something controversial, but when the female or the feminine, doesn't have to be female, sorry, those things can be two different things. When the feminine aspect is honored, and recognized and acknowledged and exalted, and when she can moderate her finances, material wealth, spiritual wisdom, it naturally leads into the progression of the family, and the general wider sharing of wisdom with the community and the tribe. So that's very interesting here. So whatever the feminine archetypes are, if you yourself are identifying with that feminine archetype, or you know someone in your world, or potentially it's a part of you within yourself. We all have masculine and feminine. So where is the feminine, which is more to do with receiving, the receptive flow state? Not to say that she's not strategic or not a leader, or, you know, not very capable of doing hunting herself. This is not what that is. It's just also to acknowledge the deep aspects of the feminine, which tend to have an eye on the whole team. They tend to have, the feminine archetype tends to have a visual of everybody, even if they put themselves first, which they do need to do. But when they're, it's kind of like they create this umbrella energy, or a giant cup energy, where they can sort of fit everybody in there if they're also strengthened and empowered into that role. And we've got the Three of Wands, and often the Three of Wands is looking at what is coming back into the kingdom. There's something arriving, there's something from potentially distant lands arriving, something, it can be overseas, but it's something kind of coming into the port typically, with the Three of Wands there. Maybe we'll just do a couple more, and then we'll get the Oracle card from the Temple La. Whoop. Too many. Way too many. Of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts, if you have any thoughts, which I'm sure that you do. Let me know how you feel about that archetype of the Nine of Pentacles. Let me know how you are protecting your boredom. How are you protecting the space to become bored, which will enable that creative drop through? You need to give yourself space. And we've got the Four of Wands. So we kind of have this pause in this moment with the Four of Wands, a ceremony. It's a ritual, it's a ceremony. And he's playing, I don't know what that is, but it's some cool instrument. And all the cats are kind of like chilling out. So what rituals and ceremonies are supporting you to have this space? Sometimes a ritual or a ceremony is, you know, something you can do at the same time every day. Or I love this, like the idea of habit stacking is always something that works quite well for me, even if it only works for a period of time, where you associate a couple of different tasks or things together. So as I go to bed, it's a trigger for me to do a few things. I usually, you know, do some sit-ups and I do some weights. I do it before bed, whether or not, you know, people think that's a good idea or not. That's something that triggers me to do that. And it's reliable because I'm, you know, going to the same place usually most times at night. And within that part, I can also really get into a sensual moment with my body and dance, and get my Palo Santo out. I can, you know, really carve out a little ritual or ceremony for myself, which eases me into that sleep state. And I have a relatively great sleep experience. I mean, occasionally there's some restlessness there, which is pretty normal for an ebb and flow of a human life. But what I'm saying is, you know, if you're looking to carve out space, and you need space to allow yourself to be bored, maybe there's a time or a day where you can etch out space for, you know, hermiting, for meditation, for creating that ritual or that ceremony, and just letting yourself sit. You know, maybe it's in meditation, but you can do a few different varieties of meditation. You don't always have to shut your eyes to meditate. You can be staring at something, resourcing from somewhere external. You can do a kind of art therapeutic meditation where you've got maybe, oh, the death card pulled out, Scorpio season, total transformation. This is extremely mutative energy. So there is a transformation coming through, something that you're going to do an entirely new way. And I think that probably is a bit of like the energy in the atmosphere at the moment. We're about to, you know, we're really tying off some old ways and creating some new ways. And our creatives in the community really are required to be nourished and held and supported for the unique work that we do. And I think that's my final pull from the Tarot of the Cat People, which is the Page of Pentacles and the Eight of Pentacles. And so we know about the Eight of Pentacles, we're really here for that mastery factor. So this is the thing that we've been working on the whole time. And this is an old technique or modality that is something we've worked on all along, the whole time in the background. So maybe you have several different artistic pursuits, but this is something that you keep going back and back and back to. And so there's something that is accumulated or required a masterful amount of hours, or you're approaching that masterful amount of hours. And sometimes that means that these processes for us as the creative, if we've done something over and over and over, there can sometimes be a feeling of we take it for granted that it's so easy, or that it's not as valuable as it really is, because it's so easy to us after we've done it so many times and it comes so naturally that we don't necessarily see it as being the thing that we offer to the world. But what you're looking for is how people call this out of you. So if you're a natural and in human design, if you have one of the, you know, profile, like line 2 profiles, in one of the line 2s in your profile as a hermit, which is the line 2, you will need to be called out. So there's something that people are always saying, you do this so well, you're so good at this thing, why don't you do this? And one day you're going to get called out in the right way. So be listening. And I think this is the Page of Pentacles, because the Page of Pentacles wants to grow something, kind of rides in, and it's a slow, steady, earthly build. So this is something where we're laying a real foundation. So maybe it's going kind of back to look at what you're going to be called out of. And this is the Page coming in with the message. So someone's coming in to call you out, to say this is what you're really, really good at, and you need to start building the correct foundation in order to move towards that. And this is going to facilitate that massive transformation. Let's do the Templar Oracle. Whoop. Let's just move these up. Hey, that's my cat. There he goes. Logan. Hey, what are you doing? My little teddy. Mother Earth. Whoa. That's a nice one. Let's have a look. Card number 22, page 50. So I'm going to read. I don't know, where do you want it? Let me know. Earth Mother, Rainbow Warrior, Medicine, Unity. The crystal is the Gaia Stone or the tree agate. I nurture, respect, and sustain the natural environment in which I live, my home on Mother Earth. I see the symbolic gifts nature entrusts to me and feel connected. Our Earth needs us more than ever on her side and practicing deep respect for her. Indigenous tribes around the world have called for a new generation of rainbow warriors to inhabit the lands to protect and preserve the beauty that exists on our Earth. Mother Earth is breathing and very much alive as she blesses us with her prosperities of shelter, food, water, and medicines. As we live closer to her rhythms, we start to feel the deep earth wisdoms being whispered in our ears. Our world is truly abundant, and our generosity, gratitude, and kindness will assist her with continuing to spin for millenniums more. The more time you spend in nature, the more you will understand the greatness of who you really are. You are the wind, the trees, the sun, the moon, and the stars too. It is all inside of you. Deep within the center of Mother Earth is a place of beauty and purity. Feel her, call on her to hold you well, so you can hold the space for others too. What story do you want to be a part of on this earth? What people around you sing the same rainbow tune? Are you on the transition team? What is your place in creating a better world for the next generations to come? You are abundant with ideas today. My beautiful tree. So this is a process which you can do, which the cards share for us. You will need a large piece of paper, half the size of your body, taped to a wall. You could use butcher paper or a large piece of watercolor paper. Place paintbrushes, paints, and water to one side. Play a piece of music that is soothing and calming. Stand tall and feel into your body. Close your eyes and focus on the base of your spine, all the way up to the top of it, feeling yourself elongated up to the sky. Focus on your breathing, and when ready, imagine yourself as a tree. Feel into the roots, trunk, and outer branches. Let your body move as steered by your tree as it grows towards the sunlight. Once you feel acquainted with your tree, open your eyes and turn to your painting station. Say, I am here now, and begin to paint your inner tree. Write down what stands out as a prominent part of your tree, any symbols that may have surfaced, and what medicine the tree offers. So that is super beautiful if you think about, that idea of going into a meditative space and identifying yourself in your body in that earthy, grounded way with what is about to be expressed. And you want to then communicate that, but also identify, what symbols arrive for you and what medicine the tree offers. And this is so perfect for where we're at with this reading today. I hope this has been helpful for my alchemical creatives. I've always called my audience alchemical creatives and healers. But there's so many names. We can call you sunbakers or moonflowers or star children. But I guess you are, we're alchemical creators and leaders. What did I say? Alchemical creatives and healers and leaders. That's us. Have a beautiful day, and we'll see you again soon.